coffee dreams and custard creams. Nice warm tea, we can feel stress-free. Soft voices and a lot of laughs. It's the Mundane Podcast.
Hey there, my name's Chris, and you're listening to The Mundane with Chris, that's me, and my best friend Dave.
That is me, hello.
And together we just have a chat about, something mundane. Have a look at the facts, the histories of the little things in our lives that we may not think too hard about, and hopefully bringing up that mundanity and celebrating it and allowing us to, I don't know, is this a good intro?
It's, no, let's roll with it. It's like, the things in life that get swept under the carpet of excitement and importance that you sometimes forget about. And we're peeling back that carpet, that rug, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
I was going to say, are we peeling back a carpet? Because peeling back a carpet sounds a lot harder than peeling back a rug. Like, maybe that's what we're doing, though. Maybe we're ripping the carpet from the nails, but we want to find it. We want to find that excitement under that rug.
It's there.
Exactly. So today, Dave, our subject in the mundane is footstools.
Footstools, nice. Okay.
I was thinking about it today, and I was like, what could the mundane be about? And I was like, we haven't done furniture. I don't think.
No, I don't think we have.
No, I don't think we've done furniture. We haven't done furniture. No. Except if you count a box, maybe. But anyway, we've had bricks. Bricks make houses. What do you put in those houses? Furniture. So I was like, you know what? Footstools. So I found a really interesting article from the LA Times.
Okay.
But it's from the LA Times archive. So it was written in 1994 by Ron Gasborough, called Furnishings, History's Been Putting Up with Footstools.
Putting up with them? Yeah,
exactly. So I'm quite, it's quite interesting. Nice little title there. 94 though. How old were we in 94, Dave?
4.
We were 4 years old.
4 years old. Yeah.
So there we go. So just think, right? This art, when we were little 4-year-olds waddling about, as 4-year-olds do, this article was being tapped away. Ron Gasborough, tippity tap tap tap, was writing away. So
and now we're bringing it back up.
And now we're bringing it back up from under the rug. What's your opinion on footstools before we get into this? What is your opinion?
They're useful.
They are very useful.
And it, as once again, I have things to say about footstools. I always have something to say. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
What do you have to say, or should we get into the article first? What?
Well, no, let's just keep going. So what's my opinion about footstools? They're useful. I use them. I won't go any further with that because there's more to say. But yeah, let's carry on. Let's hear some of the article.
Well, this article is quite nicely written as well, because it's from a proper publication back in the day. Right. It's evening. Dan Rather is on the tube, droning out the day's events. The daily paper surrounds you. With your feet up, you are relaxed, content after a vicious 8 hours on the job. That already dates the article. Who works 8 hours anymore? Well, way more than that. Then a voice smashes your peace. Get your feet off the coffee table! You curse the modern decor with its glass barricades and sleek nothingness. Where does one put one's feet these days? On the dog's back?
This is really lovely writing. Ron, what's his name? Ron
Gasborough.
Ron Gasborough. Thank you for writing so eloquently.
I think we're so used to content marketing from tiny little websites. Reading from an actual publication that's probably had numerous editors and people look for it. It's quite different. But The interesting part is, so first of all, on the dog's back, is the dog's back a helpful footstool? I would posit that it's not.
I would argue that's probably a little bit unfair on the spine of the dog.
Yeah. Depending on how heavy your feet are, I suppose.
Yeah.
And how strong the dog's back is.
Yeah, and it can't be like a Jack Russell or something
like
that.
You have no Jack Russell. Yeah. And you're wearing Doc Martens, just like...
Which dog would make the best footstool?
Oh, that's a good one.
If we're putting all issues about, whether it's okay or not.
Oh, I'm thinking about that. Depends on how high your sofa is. Like, I think a Labrador feels like it probably has enough heft. Yeah. Maybe a German Shepherd, but once again, they're quite tall.
What about like a Great Dane or something?
Great Dane's probably a good one. Or maybe once again too tall. Depends how high you like to have your feet as well, I suppose.
a Saint Bernard like Beethoven, and that's a good-looking footstool.
It's a good-looking all dogs are good-looking footstools. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I love dogs.
Yeah, you're right. I'm now thinking. I'm like, what? Because also, I've just had this thought. I was like, how high are sofas? Is there a standard sofa height? There can't be a standard sofa height. I've just realised how high off the ground can some sofas be? Can some sofas be really high off the ground? Can some? Maybe we need to look into sofas.
There's got to be a point where you can't get on the sofa if it's 6 foot high, or does then it become something else? Is it like a high bench with a view?
A mezzanine.
Yeah, I mean it would probably be more outdoor furniture. You might need a footstool to get on it.
Exactly. Maybe that's because that's the beautiful thing of a footstool, isn't it? Is that a footstool isn't just a footstool; it can be numerous other things.
Yeah, I mean, so this leads me actually to something that I didn't even think of at first as one of the things I'm surely going to say. Do footstools tell us something about people, right?
Okay.
Go with me on this.
I'm going with you. I'm excited.
Because, I mean, you mentioned even earlier, like, Don's had a hard day at work and he wants to put his feet up on the coffee table. Bad Don or whatever, but he's worked hard, so he deserves to put his feet up. But when you talked about footstools at the very beginning of the episode, the first thing I actually thought of and why I said they're useful is because I first thought of, I use footstools to reach things that I can't reach. So when I take our meter readings for the electric meter, that's above a door. So I use a footstool to safely get up there and do the meter readings. And I didn't even think about the footstools you rest your feet on when you're on the sofa or whatever to put your feet up. So does that say that I'm a hard-working man because I didn't even think of it? So if you go to one and be like, footstools, what's a footstool for? And if they're like chilling, you need to work harder.
Well, it might be. No, you say chilling, but it might be that you just like having a small chair. It's a nice little stool. It's a nice little chair to sit on. It's a bit low to the ground. But
Space efficiency.
Also, like, how often, because I'm similar, because I have a footstool, but I use it mainly as an extra chair because I got given a chair that had one and it just kind of rotates around and I use it as an extra chair. I do actually sometimes use it as part of the chair, but not to put my feet up like outstretched, but to kind of allow myself to sit in the chair and curl up, like one would in a corner sofa. So it gives me a bit more, I don't know what it would be like, like bum real estate, so I can kind of put my feet up, but not necessarily like stretched out like you would on the coffee table. Because obviously it's a footstool designed for the chair, so it's the exact same height as the base of the bum. I don't know what you call it, like the seat of the chair. So it allows me.
Call it that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it allows me kind of that perfect kind of space because I don't have a very big sofa. I've started reading a lot more recently, and I found actually I want to curl up with a book, not just sit. Because sitting with my feet flat out, I have a coffee table sat in front of it, and I don't normally put my feet up on that. I kind of don't find that very comfortable.
A footstool that's really designed not for reaching things, but for putting your feet up. They usually have a cushion on. Yeah. And actually, your footstool, if I'm right, I wouldn't safely use that to reach something because it spins, does it not?
It does spin.
Yeah, that would be irresponsible to stand up on that.
Yeah, it's like, have you ever tried to, well, in fact, I know you have because I've watched you do it and I've also done it, tried to use a spinny chair, like a desk chair, as a height thing, which is health and safety nightmare.
It is an absolute health and safety nightmare. So people in those offices with their spinny chairs, keep your feet off them. Buy a footstool.
Yeah.
That doesn't spin.
Yeah, exactly. It's called a office chair, not an office footstool.
Yeah.
Why isn't there an office footstool? Does that say something about our society? Is there such thing as an office footstool? I'm going to Google.
They always talk about people who work in offices having back problems because of their, being sat at a computer all day. Maybe footstools would help them.
Yeah. So I just Googled it. There's footrests, which are different to footstools. They're like just only slightly off the ground.
Bit more work orientated.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, because it's office, isn't it? So it's like a little office footrest is literally just a slightly raised slab to kind of, put your feet a bit high. I think that's really depressing. What happened to, the good old, because once again, that footrest, you really can't use for anything else. Maybe as a really hard pillow.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a really hard pillow. But what else can you use it for? Once again, a footstool, that's got utility. Well, if it's not spinny. it's often got utility in it.
You know, when I said my first thought with footstools is a useful item, because the ones I've mostly known in the houses I've lived in, and I'm pretty sure every house has this kind of footstool, is like a random old footstool. Usually they're quite small, I think, as well. My parents had one. I'm sure it must have been 100 years old. And maybe that some people have them ornamentally, I don't know, but it was useful. And at the house I live in right now, there's a footstool with a step to get to the top level of the footstool. You might have seen it if you've...
I don't remember.
If you remember, I mean, it's obviously been a little while, but, you know, that's what I use for getting to the meter reading. And so, you know, and you wouldn't actually put your feet up on that. You could, but it's clearly not for that. Is that still a footstool?
Is that still a footstool? Is that just a step? Are you just talking about a step?
Well, it's made of wood. So it's not like a little ladder type thing.
Yeah, you could still have a wooden step.
It's like a stool with a step, because sometimes I put my bum on the top of the stool and my feet on the step, and I'll do my laces up or whatever.
Well, that sounds quite high up then. That sounds more like a step than a footstool. Have you been calling it a footstool your whole life?
No, just a stool, actually.
Just a stool. So maybe it's not a footstool. Maybe it is just a stool.
Yeah, maybe that's the answer.
So this whole time you've been thinking it's a footstool, or you, at least in this conversation, it's been a footstool, but actually...
So, yeah, that's the issue as well, because I've just remembered what I call a footstool for putting your feet upon.
Okay, go on.
And I'm pretty sure my parents call that too, which is why I call it a footrest.
Oh, see, a footrest to me is the one that's lower off the ground. That's like that's the one that's the little slab.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a footrest, because instead of putting your feet up, you put your feet on. You put your feet on a footrest, but up on a footstool.
How thick is this footrest, the office-y thing?
Probably, like I said, it sits about 20, 30 centimetres off the ground max.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it was, really low, like a foot plate or something.
You can't. There's one looking at them. Some of them are quite low. Some of them could be, like a small bag you put on the floor and you just happen to put your feet on. But then some of them can raise a bit higher, or you can adjust them. Apparently, I've also just seen a desk hammock. That's quite a nice idea. So it's like a little hammock that you attach under the desk for your feet to kind of like hang. So your feet are up, but not necessarily having the additional furniture or space
quite cool, yeah,
required for a footstool.
Yeah, you could probably kind of like sort of swing, if you're like me and you fidget, you could probably sort of swing.
Yeah, exactly, like one can do in a hammock. So you don't call footstools footstools, you call footstools not hammocks. You call footstools footrests. That is all a footrest.
Yeah.
So there's a coffee table a footrest.
No. It's a coffee table. You shouldn't put your feet on that. Oh, I'm one of those people, I suppose. I mean, actually, I have put my feet upon a table before, but to be honest, I very, very rarely actually put my feet up when I'm sitting on a sofa. I don't know if that's because I don't really have or haven't had.
So do you sit on a sofa just like straight up like you would in a chair?
I'll sort of slouch back or whatever if I'm really relaxing. Sorry, I'm actually slouching back from the microphone there, so I probably shouldn't do that. I was just demonstrating to Chris to confirm what slouching back looks like in case he didn't know. And I'll just put my feet out.
So you never put your feet up on the sofa? Because I always like lying on the sofa is like a innate pleasure for me.
I used to lie down on the sofa a lot more when I was younger and lived at my parents'. I'd lie down on it, maybe even have a blanket and watch TV. But then sometimes, I don't know, I always felt like I was trying to moving away from the microphone, just demonstrating positions to Chris again. I think I seem to remember thinking a lot of the time that I was, kind of trying to watch TV sideways a little bit. So, yeah, most of the time, basically all the time now, yeah, I just sort of sit on the sofa. A lot of the time, I don't even slouch back either. I just sit up. But I also don't spend an awful lot of time sitting on sofas, not recently anyway. Maybe that will change when I move house and stuff.
Maybe as you get older, maybe it's an older thing. I don't think I used to lie on sofas. Because a leather sofa's a bit trickier to lie on, especially if you have shorts or you're not wearing a shirt, because if you lie on it for too long, you have to peel yourself off.
Yeah, you do.
But once again, with a footstool or a footrest. So I wonder if anyone else calls it a footrest. Because like I said, a footrest to me, like if you Google footrest, different results come up to it than a footstool. If you're using a dog as a footrest, to me, you would have to use like a terrier. Like a chihuahua. You could use a chihuahua as a footrest, but you couldn't use a chihuahua as a footstool. You'd have to use like a Doberman as a footstool.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I've never thought of it like that.
Because you're putting your feet up You put your feet are like, maybe there's a specific angle, maybe like pointing downwards, like a clock. So maybe pointing downwards at 5 o'clock, that is a footrest. 4 o'clock, footrest. No, maybe 4 o'clock is footstool. 3 o'clock is footstool. 2 o'clock is footstool. So if you are sat on the sofa and your feet are up at that point, like at 2 o'clock, between
That's
2
a
o'clock
footstool.
and 3 o'clock, that is footstool. Once it goes below maybe 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30, then it becomes a footrest.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, to be honest, I've never most of my life up to this point anyway, I've lived at my parents' house, and they have only really had footrests then, I suppose, because I've probably never had a footstool in my house. Maybe that's why I always know them as footrests, because there is something to your theory there that it's all about the height and the o'clock position of your legs.
Exactly. The o'clock position. I like it. Well, maybe that's what we should get people to write in. What o'clock position do you sit your legs in? Answers on the postcard. So let's carry on with the article, the LA Times article. A footstool, hassock, ottoman, whatever they are called, you need one. You never saw Ozzie Nelson or Ward Cleaver without one back in the 1950s. Who the hell? What? With legs stretched out, a feeling of approachable authority was imparted. Allowances were doled out, report cards signed, dating problems solved. So there you go, Dave. It sounds to me that like you've been missing out by not being stretched out. This article is selling very hard this idea of sitting at 3 o'clock. That's where it's at.
Are you missing out by not being stretched out? I don't know. Sorry.
Are you missing out by being? No. Are you missing out by not being stretched out by a footstool today?
Dung.
I was waiting to do the come to.
Oh, I heard a dong somewhere, and so I was like, that could be it. That could be the end of the advert.
That could be. Is that what you want? The end of every advert needs a good dong. Needs a good.
Yeah. Between all adverts on TV, YouTube, or whatever, they should have a gong. Gong. Next advert.
Maybe if we ever have adverts on our show, that's what we should do. We should have just the advert gong, just like bong. Hello.
Yeah.
We are sponsored by blah, 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 sponsor. Thank you.
Vagisil.
We are sponsored by Vagisil. Thank you very much. Bong. I'd accept an advertisement from them. A sponsorship
anyone,
from them.
Really?
Anyone?
Well, actually, no, not anyone. Like, there's, moral.
Do they have to
things,
be specifically mundane? Would that be?
That would be ideal.
Yeah, it needs to be.
And I like to think maybe some of the mundane companies out there, maybe are looking for an opportunity to get their adverts out there in the right context.
Exactly.
For people,
I like it. Footstools became trendy back in both ancient Greece and the Byzantine Empire, when stools of many shapes and sizes were constructed to match the throne of a king or self-important local magistrate. Usually made of bronze or iron or inlaid with African ivory, they could be folded up and carried by a servant or thrown into the back of a chariot to be transported to that afternoon's gladiators event. There was never one in Game of Thrones, though, was there? There was the Iron Throne. There wasn't the Iron Footrest.
No, I mean, I remember scenes where people were being lavishly treated whilst they're lying on a bed or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't remember a footrest. Was there a footrest in Game of Thrones? Do you know what as well, right? If you think about it, the Iron Throne made of swords, footrest, the Iron Footrest made of shields.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I suppose the Iron Throne doesn't look that comfy anyway because you're sitting on like loads of sharpened weapons of murder. But like as a footstool, you need that smoothness.
If there aren't any footstools in Game of Thrones, maybe that's because it's a different universe. It's Westeros. Is it even on planet Earth? Maybe they've never even heard of a footstool. So if Westeros was real, that would be a good business opportunity. You could go to King's Landing
if you get
with
transported.
Footstools and just like, guys, I've got something for you here, and blow the Lannisters' minds.
Have you been putting your feet at 4 o'clock? And they're like, what's o'clock? And you'd be like, have you been putting your feet at...
Are you missing out on not stretching out?
Oh, no, I suppose... you miss out. Oh, no, I know how you do it. You do it like a compass for them because it's Westeros, the north, so they have a compass. So you go, have you been putting your feet at southeast? What if you could put your feet at east? And then they'd be like, well, we're Westeros. Can we put them at west? And we'd be like, if you sit in your chair backwards, fine.
Yeah. Or just turn everything around.
You know, and everyone up north, they're like, can we put it up north? So they're like, what? I sitting horizontal? That's a headstand. Do you want to sit on, by a headstand? Yeah, that's fine. Just sit on the floor, I suppose, and just get used to doing a headstand. That's the thing. And then imagine how different the show would be if everyone on the throne is just doing headstands to show that they are truly relaxed. They're like, I am king of the north and I am lying at the north.
Look how important I am right now. I feel like though that if we were to do a poll in Westeros, I feel like more of the south would use footstools to rest their feet, and more of the north would use them for useful applications like getting up to that castle window that they can't quite reach, so that they can peer in and see incestuous activities going on. Or whatever.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, it's a first world problem, I guess, or everything world problem. Everyone's been there.
Everyone's been there, just seeing incest through the windows. We've all can't help it. Just every time you're outside, a footstool. Oh, incest. Let's keep going.
That's why everyone liked Bran's storyline so much, because it's so close to home for everyone.
that was the and
we've all seen Cersei and Jaime.
Yeah, well, I suppose in a way we all have if we've all watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that is true. We have all seen what Bran's seen.
By the 17th century, the footstool concept had trickled down to the common everyday rich folk in the form of a gout stool. Then, gout was considered a rich man's ailment. The gout stool was a means of elevating throbbing feet for relief and protection. So, it was actually named after the condition, gout.
So it's a foot condition.
Yeah, gout is a foot condition. I think it's a skin condition.
It doesn't sound nice, the word gout.
No, it's like arthritis. I think it's like it's just like arthritis. So, but the gout stool is a means of elevating throbbing feet for relief and protection, like protection from like floor spiders, probably, which we all need protection from.
And lava.
And lava. That's definitely another big.
They probably played the floor as lava back then. It's a pretty universal game.
Yeah, that's true. But like, would you? Because obviously back in that day, would they have known what a volcano was? Because we know a volcano because of TV. If you're going back in that time before there was like TV and, maybe they haven't found the book that's about volcanoes.
I think people that lived near volcanoes or in the same mainland as volcanoes, they would have known about them. And maybe the game The Floor is Lava actually came from real life volcanic eruptions, and everyone's like, oh, damn, the floor actually is lava, guys. We best get up on the stools quick time.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they're made out of bronze. Yeah, if they're made out of bronze, though, it'd conduct the heat, and then it'd just be like a boiling hot metal thing that you wouldn't want to stand on.
I think it would probably melt.
Yeah, probably. I suppose if it was made out of a metal that had a higher melting point, but to be honest, yeah, it probably would. But even before it melts or as it's melting.
Maybe obsidian or something.
Yeah, if it was made out of obsidian. Yeah, definitely. When you think about it, can you imagine if you didn't know what a volcano was and then you saw a volcano erupt, how you would feel?
Probably terrified.
You'd be like, why is that mountain vomiting?
If you can see it, then you're probably not going to be telling that tale to your grandkids.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Unless it's like in Iceland where it just kind of happens and they're like, oh yeah, there's just loads of lava coming out.
So maybe actually that's not how the game The Floor is Lava came to be, because most of those people that played the real game of it probably didn't live to tell the tale. So maybe it's more from like the suburbs of volcanoes.
Maybe they're watching someone melt and they're like, this is a really cool game, just pretend the floor is this, and then if it like does it, but at least you won't die like me.
Enjoy your last moment.
Thank you for the game, Melty Man.
It is a good game. I've not played it in a long time.
Yeah, we haven't played it in a long time. Maybe we should play it. Maybe if one day we could do a video where we do it. Maybe we could.
Yeah, we could
extra
do that.
content.
Yeah.
So,
bonus.
Okay, but despite the questionable class assignments that determined who should and should not own a footstool, the times themselves dictated the need. Early Shaker settlers and pilgrims used them because it kept their feet off cold, drafty floors and closer to toasty fireplaces. Once again, you couldn't use a dog for that because the dog would probably catch fire.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, that's not very nice.
In fact, it was during this early colonial period when the three-legged footstool evolved. 3 legs balanced better than 4 on uneven floors of cobble, rough brick or earth. Eventually, these stools found their way into barns because they were easy to get under milking cows. So that is the first time a footstool then evolves past its utility of putting your feet up to be a little seat. So also when if you imagine right now someone milking a cow, they do have a little three-legged stool.
They do.
And that is also a footstool.
I'm sure those are the kinds of stools that I've seen in so many homes. The ones that look like so short and small that they're probably not even that useful, but people have them.
Yeah.
Fact.
I just want to talk about the terms footstool, ottoman, and hassock.
Yeah.
So people often use them interchangeably, but there is a basic distinction according to this article. A footstool is the most stripped down version and is generally made of softer woods like apple, pear, or sycamore. An ottoman, we know what an ottoman is, but an ottoman can be part of a sectional couch and is rather large, having been developed at a time when the daybed was popular. Also, an ottoman has storage in it, doesn't it? That's to me what an ottoman is. Does the term ottoman insinuate it has storage, or do you just get ottomans that have storage in?
I think it insinuates that it has storage, maybe, or at least, well, because basically I was looking at beds recently. I'm going to get a new bed soon.
That's
so I hope all the listeners are totally happy for me. But yeah, you can get an ottoman bed and they've got storage underneath
But
it.
an ottoman footstool, I've just Googled it, looks completely different. So everything is wrong. I don't know anything anymore. So apparently an ottoman footstool.
I have to admit something to you. Don't actually know what an ottoman is.
So to me, an ottoman is like one of those boxes with like a cushioned bit at the top, and then you like remove the lid and you can hold stuff underneath into it. That's to me is what an ottoman is.
Yeah, okay.
But actually, I've just Googled ottoman footstool, and an ottoman footstool is like a longer square, like a big square footstool, as opposed to that. And a hassock are footstools used to store things. Oh, okay. So a hassock is smaller and almost always has storage. So it's like they're more box-like with either no legs or very short legs or wheels. So an ottoman is like part of a sectional couch. Imagine that, and it's like quite big, and it's just like 4 feet. A footstool can be made of like just a little wood thing, and it can have 3 legs, 4 legs. And a hassock is like, you know, those big, like, I was going to say like fat Pringle cans, but they're not because Pringle cans are thin. Like imagine a fat Pringle can on the floor that you can store stuff in. That is a hassock footstool.
Right. There's a place not too far from me called Hassocks.
Oh, okay. Do they sell those kinds of footstools?
I have no idea. I feel like I want to find out now. Is it? I assume it's spelt the same. HASSOCK.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think like that's where we should kind of think about this now. Sorry, this is where we should be rounding off now. A nice compact little episode, a lot like the humble footstool. A thing that you just happen to put your feet on. And like doesn't take up too much room, but is often quite helpful.
Exactly. It's worth the space that it takes up in the home.
And you know what? I actually kind of want a hassock now. I like the idea of having
I do too.
Little storage chest that I can also put my feet up on.
Next time you come down here, Chris, we'll go to Hassocks and we'll see if we can just buy ourselves a couple of hassocks.
Let's see if we can find some hassocks from Hassocks. Because also, how good a story would that be? I got hassocks from Hassocks.
There's also a nice bakery in the town as well. So
oh, okay, brilliant.
Get a bite to eat too.
Oh, that's it. I like that because ultimately, what is a footstool if not spending time with your friends? I was trying to round it off in some kind of way, and it does not work. This is one of those ones where, you know what, I never thought so hard about footstools, but I guess that is the whole point of this show.
That is, yeah.
Allowing us to really think about those little things and appreciate it. And you know what, I want a hassock now. I'm going to go and investigate and find where I get a hassock. So I like the idea of a little bit of storage, you know, like remotes. Or like maybe you could use a hassock as like a man, you know, like the man drawers where you just store your cables and stuff. Hassock's perfect for that. Put your feet up, carry it out with you. And then if you've got to do some cabling, the cabling might be in the hassock, but then you could use the hassock to get on to the extra step that you might need to place the cables in.
You could have a refrigerated hassock and put your beers in it or whatever.
Oh, I like it.
Or your sodas.
Or your sodas. Although, when you think about it, actually, a cooler does look a bit like a footstool, does look a bit like a hassock. You could probably use a little cooler.
Your classic cool box, you probably could. Yeah.
Probably could use a cool box.
In fact, one other thing that people could maybe tell us is what things do you use as a footrest or footstool or what have you that aren't actually those things, you know, they serve another purpose.
Exactly. And I suppose to round this off, the one thing I will say is under no circumstances should you be using your dog as a hassock. Or
another person. Unless they're totally happy to do it.
No, but as a hassock, not as just a footstool, as a hassock. Because
it wouldn't work very well.
You don't want to store anything in a dog or a person. Yeah, I just as a general rule, just don't store things in other things.
that aren't designed to take them,
that aren't designed to hold them.
hold them,
Yeah, you don't.
contain them.
As a general rule, don't use that. And on that note, I guess that comes to the end of this show.
I guess it does.
I wonder if anyone was listening to this show with their feet up on a footrest or on a footstool.
I like to think so. I hope that we put people at ease when they're listening to us.
I hope so. Maybe we'll get a photo. That would be really nice. Get a photo in the mail of someone putting their feet up.
That would make my day.
That would make my day too. I hope so. Well, I guess, ladies and gentlemen, and those that lie betwixt, thank you so much for coming today and listening to
thank you.
us talking about this. And I just want to say I hope you're having a good day, a good week, a good life. And I love you. And I love you, Dave.
I love you too, man.
But yeah, no, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a good week, and I love you.
Love you all.
It's just
and thank you.
Thank you.
The Mundane Podcast.